close your eyes, if you like, or simply let them grow, heavy, soft, unfocused. Resting on nothing in particular, we are going somewhere together tonight. Somewhere very old, somewhere very quiet. We are going back, beyond anything written in a book, beyond anything carved in stone that you've ever seen. Back to a time when the world was newer and slower, and the air was thick with the smell of wood smoke and wet earth and green, growing things. We are going to a village, not a grand city, not a palace, not a place of great noise or great crowds, just a small, simple, beautiful village, settled at the edge of a river, surrounded by gentle hills, in a time so long ago that the stars overhead were the same stars burning in. The same ancient sky that you and I look up at tonight. Everything moves slowly here. The wind moves slowly. The river moves slowly. The people move slowly, too, going about their days with a quiet steadiness that feels, somehow, deeply familiar. As though some part of you remembers this. As though some deep and drowsy part of you has always known this place. You are welcome here. There is nothing you need to do tonight, nothing you need to remember, nothing you need to hold on to. Just listen, just breathe, just rest, and slowly, gently, let yourself drift back, all the way back, to the very beginning. Asterisk, the sky is just beginning to lighten. Not yet the full gold of morning, just the softest, palest grey blue at the horizon, the colour of a quiet thought, the colour of almost dash waking. And in this grey-blue light, the village begins to appear. You are standing at the edge of it, looking in. And what you see is this: a dozen or so round huts, low and smooth, built from a mixture of pale clay and dry grass and carefully chosen river stones. Their roofs are thick with straw, layered and packed so tightly that the rain runs right off without finding a way through. Each hut is small, just big enough for a family to sleep in together, side by side, warm and close. The doorways are low, round, covered with heavy hides that hang still in the morning air. Between the huts, narrow paths have worn themselves into the earth through years and years of the same feet, walking the same ways, morning after morning. The ground is smooth and pale where it has been walked on most, and dotted with tufts of low grass at the edges. A central fire, out in the open middle of the village, has burned low through the night. Just a small orange glow now, barely a heartbeat of flame, holding on quietly in the early dark. A thin thread of pale smoke rises from it in a perfectly straight line into the still air above dot around the fire. A few flat stones have been arranged as seats. A clay pot rests beside the embers, and there is the faint smell of something warm. ERBs, maybe, or bark. Something gentle and earthy that drifts through the cool morning air and settles over everything like a soft blanket. No one is awake yet, or perhaps one person is. Just one. An older woman who rises before the others every morning, stepping quietly out of her hut and wrapping a woven blanket around her shoulders, moving slowly toward the fire to tend it before the day begins. You watch her from the edge of the village, and there is something so deeply peaceful about the way she moves. Unhurried, careful, familiar with every step. As though she has done this 1,000 mornings and will do it 1,000 more. She kneels beside the fire and adds a few small pieces of wood, leaning down to blow softly on the coals. The glow brightens. A small flame catches. The smoke thickens. Just a little, then settles again into its thin, quiet thread. She sits back on her heels and simply ... waits. Her hands rest in her lap. Her eyes are soft. She is watching the fire the way you might watch rain or the movement of leaves in a gentle breeze, without thought, without effort, just present and quiet and still. And slowly, as time passes, the sky at the horizon shifts from grey to the faintest, most tender pink. The first birds begin. One call, then another, then a few more, scattered across the trees at the edge of the settlement like soft notes from an instrument being tuned. Before a long, slow song, the village breathes, the fire grows, and the day very gently, very slowly begins. Asterisk, not far from the village. Close enough to walk in a few quiet minutes. The river runs. It has always run here. It was running here before the first people came to settle on its banks, and it will run long after. But for now, it belongs in the way that rivers always belong to the people who love them and live beside them, to this village. It is not a dramatic river. It does not rush or roar. It moves with the kind of unhurried steadiness that makes you feel, standing beside it, that time itself has slowed. That the world is, perhaps, not in as much of a hurry as you thought. The water is clear and cool. You can see the smooth rounded stones on the bottom, brown and grey, and here and there a pale, almost milky white. A few small fish drift in the slower water near the bank, barely moving, holding their place against the gentle current with the tiniest, most effortless motion of their tails. In the early mornings, after the fire tender has done her work and the first grey light has fully arrived, the younger women of the village come to the river with their clay vessels, ... wide, low pots that they carry balanced against their hips or steady on their heads. They walk along the worn path through the tall grass, still wet with dew that catches the pale morning light in tiny silver drops. At the water's edge, they kneel and fill their vessels slowly, watching the water swirl and settle. They talk quietly, among themselves, not urgent talk, not hurried talk, just the soft, unhurried murmur of people who have known each other all their lives, who share the same small world, who find in the act of doing something together a kind of comfort that needs no words but makes words feel easy and warm anyway. The sound of the river, ... and the sound of their quiet voices, and the sound of the birds in the reeds along the bank. These things all weave together into something that is not quite music and not quite silence, but something in between, something that fills the air so gently and so completely that you stop noticing it and simply rest inside it. The water is heavy and cool in the clay pots as they walk back to the village, and their footprints in the soft mud at the river's edge will dry and harden in the morning sun and stay there, a record of this morning, for a little while at least, before the next rain comes and washes everything clean and smooth again. The river does not notice. The river simply goes on, moving through the green land, past the village, ... past the fields, out into the wide, quiet world beyond. And slowly, as time passes, the sun lifts itself a little higher behind the trees, and the dew begins to dry, and the village wakes fully into the soft warmth of another ordinary, beautiful day. Asterisk beyond the huts, on the gentler slope that faces the morning sun, the fields begin. They are small fields, by later standards. Nothing like the vast, geometric expanses that will come in thousands of years. These are modest, careful, personal fields. Each one tended by particular hands, known intimately by particular people who understand the way the soil here drains after rain. Which patches get more sun, which corners need a little more water carried from the river. The crop this season is a grain, a simple, hardy variety with long, pale stalks and small, dense seed heads that hang slightly, just slightly, when the morning dew is still on them, making the whole field lean together in the same gentle direction, like people all looking at something far away. The man who tends this field is broad and unhurried. He walks along the rows slowly, looking down, touching the earth sometimes with his fingers, crouching to pull a weed that has found its way between the stalks, checking the color of the leaves the way you might check on someone you care for, reading what they cannot say in words. He does not rush. He has learned, as all farmers learn, that rushing does nothing useful here. The plants grow at their own pace. The rain comes when it comes. The sun rises and sets without asking him. His work today is simply to be present, to see what needs, seeing ... to tend what needs tending, and to trust, as he has trusted before and seen rewarded before, that the slow, patient work of growing things will, in time, bring abundance near him. A child of perhaps 4 or 5 years old walks along the edge of the field, not yet tall enough to see over the grain stalks, running a hand along them and watching them sway. The child is not working. The child is just there, the way children are just there, absorbing without effort the rhythm and the feeling of this place, storing it somewhere deep, where it will stay for a lifetime. Further along the slope, another family's field grows beans, on low wooden sticks pushed into the earth at gentle angles. The bean plants have wound themselves around these sticks in slow, determined spirals, and their leaves are broad and a dark, satisfied green. And beyond those, a small patch of root vegetables, ... their greenery sprouting from the earth in loose, feathery tops, growing quietly in the dark beneath the surface, patient and hidden, doing all their important work when no one can see. This is how food comes to be, in this village, in this time, not quickly, not easily, but with care and repetition and a deep familiarity between people and the land they have chosen to live on. And slowly, as time passes, the sun climbs higher and the shadows shorten and the man in the field straightens and stretches and lets out a long, slow breath and walks back toward the village for the morning meal. There is always some small building happening in the village, a hut that needs a new section of thatching, a wall that is dried and cracked through the summer heat and needs fresh clay worked into it with wet hands, a new doorway frame carved from a straight piece of young wood, a storage pit being dug at the edge of a family's dwelling to keep their dried grain cool and safe through the coming cold months. It is not grand construction. It asks for no great tools, no large workforce, no plans drawn on parchment. It asks only for the knowledge that has been passed, like everything important in this village, from the older ones to the younger ones, through watching and doing and patient correction, through hands placed over smaller hands to show the right angle, the right pressure, the right feel. The huts themselves are remarkable in their simplicity. a circular wall built up from large, flat stones at the base, packed with clay mixed from the riverbed, smoothed with wet palms until the surface is almost glassy, then left in the sun to dry and harden into something that is warm in winter, cool in summer, and as solid as the earth it came from. Above the wall, a framework of bent young branches, lashed together with twisted plant fiber, creates a dome shape that reassides to a low point at the center. Over this, layer upon layer of dried grass, thatch is laid, overlapping like scales, until the roof is thick and deep and will turn rain without. A thought, inside, the floor is bare earth, packed hard by years of feet, and swept daily with a bundle of stiff grass. A low fire pit in the center, ringed with flat stones, allows a small cooking fire on cold mornings, the smoke finding its way out through a small gap at the apex of the roof, leaving the inside always faintly scented with old wood and warmth. Along the curved walls, sleeping mats woven from reeds are rolled out at night and rolled back up during the day. Beside them, small bundles of possessions. A tool wrapped in leather, a string of carved beads, a dried bundle of herbs, a smooth stone with a hole worn through it by the river. The particular, private, small things that make a space feel like home. To live in such a hut is to feel held by the earth rather than separated from it. You can hear the wind outside, but you cannot feel it. You can smell the rain coming before it arrives. You sleep at the same temperature as the soil beneath you. And in winter, the warmth of 2 or 3 people sleeping close in a small round space is enough. It is always enough. The builders today work without hurry. One man presses fresh clay into a section of cracked wall, smoothing with his palm in long, slow strokes. A young woman passes him a wooden bowl of water. He nods. She sits nearby on a stone and watches, and they talk about nothing in particular. And the work goes on slowly, and the sun moves slowly overhead, and the wall dries slowly in the warmth. This is how a village grows, not in a day, not in a season, but across many years, many hands, many patient mornings spent adding and tending, and repairing and caring, and slowly as time passes. The wall is smooth again, and the builders stand back to look at it with a quiet satisfaction that does not need to be said aloud. And the sun is beginning to move toward the afternoon, and somewhere from the center of the village, the smell of cooking begins to drift through the air like a gentle invitation. The fire at the center of the village is the heart of it, not in a dramatic or mythological way, though later, in other times and places, fire will become that. Here it is simply and honestly the center of warmth, of cooking, of gathering, of light as the dark comes in, of safety in the hours when the forest beyond the fields goes deep and quiet. Several fires burn in the village through the day, but this central one is the most important. It belongs to everyone. No single family claims it. It is fed by whoever passes and notices it burning low, and in this small, unremarked way. It is always tended, always burning, always there. Around it in the late morning, the day's main cooking begins. A wide, flat clay dish rests on the coals, and on it, a grain porridge bubbles in slow, lazy circles. Thick and pale, smelling of warmth and something faintly sweet, with dried fruit pressed into the surface by careful fingers before it was set to cook. A woman stirs it with a long, smooth wooden stick, turning it in easy circles, watching it. Thicken, adding a small amount of water from a clay cup to keep it from catching on the bottom. Beside the fire, a clay pot holds a broth. Roots and herbs and something savory, simmering slowly, filling the air with a steam that is somewhere between earthy and sweet and deeply, deeply comforting. The herbs in it have been dried and stored through many seasons, hanging in small bundles from the inner roof beams of various huts, and their smell, even here outside in the open air, is recognizable and reassuring. Nearby, flat rounds of unleavened bread are being pressed out by hand on a smooth stone. The dough worked and folded and pressed again with the heel of the palm in a slow, rhythmic motion. Then laid on the hot stones at the fire's edge to bake, puffing slightly in the heat, darkening in small patches, smelling of something ancient. And good food preparation in this village is slow and social. It rarely happens alone. There are always 2 or 3 people nearby, one cooking, one preparing, one simply sitting and talking, or watching a child, or braiding a section of fiber into rope with their hands while they speak. The food that is made is simple. It does not try to be complicated. It is grain and root and herb and occasionally dried meat, or a fish caught that morning from the river, wrapped in broad leaves and laid directly on the coals to steam in its own moisture until it opens, soft and fragrant at the center. It is the kind of food that makes the body feel met, not full in an overwhelming way, not indulgent, but steadily, quietly nourished. The way a good night of sleep meets you. The way a warm room meets you when you come in from the cold. To eat a meal in this village is to be part of a long, slow chain of effort. The seeds planted, the fields tended, the harvest gathered, the grain dried, the fire fed, the pot filled, and all of it done by these hands, these familiar hands, belonging to these familiar people in this small and quiet place. And slowly, as time passes, the porridge is spooned into clay bowls and passed around, and the bread is torn into pieces and shared. And the broth is ladled out. And the village sits together in the midday sun, eating slowly, speaking little, resting between bites with their faces tilted up toward the warmth above. In the quieter part of the afternoon, when the sun is fullest and the fields have been checked and the morning meal has settled into a comfortable drowsiness. The craftspeople do their work. There is a man who makes tools. He sits outside his hut on a low, flat stone that has become, over many years, his particular place, worn, smooth and slightly hollow from years of his presence. Beside him is a collection of stones, large ones for striking, smaller ones for pressing, and the particular fine-grained stones that have been collected from the riverbed and the hillside, specifically because they flake in the right way when, struck with patience and skill, he works slowly and carefully, holding a stone in his left hand and striking it at precise angles with a rounded striker in his right. Each strike sends a small, curved flake falling into the dust at his feet. The sound is quiet and rhythmic. Click, pause, turn, click, pause, turn. A small, patient percussion that marks the afternoon the way a water clock marks hours. The tool taking shape in his hands is a scraper. It will be used for working hides, or for preparing certain kinds of plant fiber, or for scraping the flesh from a caught fish. It is not large. It fits comfortably in the palm of one hand. But the edge being worked onto it, one tiny flake at a time, will be fine and sharp and exactly right for the work it will do. He does not seem to be in any particular hurry. He examines each flake that falls, sometimes picking one up and looking at it carefully, running his thumb along its edge to feel whether the angle is what he intended. When it is good, he sets it aside. When it is not, he sets it aside differently, and you understand, watching him, that he has a use for both. The women who sit a little further along, in the shade of the wide tree at the edge of the settlement, that has stood there far longer than the village has existed. Their looms are simple, just a frame of straight branches, with vertical threads of twisted plant fiber strung between them. They pass the horizontal thread through with a flat, smooth shuttle, beating it gently down with a wide wooden comb, building the fabric row by row, slowly, with a steady rhythm that is almost hypnotic to watch. The cloth they make is not delicate. It is sturdy and slightly rough, and exactly the kind of thing you would want wrapped around you on a cold night. They dye it sometimes with berries or certain kinds of earth, achieving colors that are soft and natural, a muted red, a deep brown, a dusty yellow that is almost golden in the right light. A younger person, still learning, watches the weaving and sometimes asks a question in a soft voice. And the answer comes back, equally soft, patient, showing by demonstration more than by explanation. And over there, a little apart from everyone, a very old man sits with a piece of bone on his knee, carving something small and detailed with a thin stone point. He has been working on this particular thing for many days. What it will be is not yet clear, though it seems to be a figure of some kind. A small, smooth body taking shape in the off-weight of the bone. The suggestion of legs, of arms folded close, of a head slightly bowed. You watch him for a long moment, and he does not look up. His eyes are very close to the work. His hands are very steady for hands that have been doing things for so many decades. And slowly, as time passes, the shadows of the afternoon lengthen and the craftspeople's work accumulates in its slow, patient way, and the sound of stone on stone and the soft beat of the weaving comb and the small, precise scrape of the carving tool all drift together into an afternoon that feels full and quiet and complete. Asterisk, the children of the village move differently from the adults. The adults move with purpose and familiarity, their feet knowing the path without being told. But the children move with a kind of loose, wandering attention that takes them here and then there, following whatever is interesting, picking up whatever is interesting, leaving both behind for the next interesting thing without any visible sense of loss. A small group of them, somewhere between the ages of 4 and perhaps 9 or 10, have been occupied all afternoon with something in the dirt at the edge of the field. They are building something. A miniature village. It seems small mounds of dirt pressed into round shapes, tiny flat stones arranged in patterns around them. A channel scratched in the earth leading to a small depression that has been filled with water from someone's palm. Little figures made of twisted grass and clay sit in the tiny doorways of the tiny huts. The construction is deeply serious to them. There are negotiations, an occasional brief, soft disagreements that resolve themselves without adult intervention, and the constant back and forth adjustment of small hands and focused eyes and very particular ideas about where things should go. One child sits slightly apart from the group, watching a beetle make its slow, determined way across the packed earth. The child does not touch the beetle, just watches, follows it with patient eyes as it navigates a small stone disappears into a crack, re-emerges a little further along. This watching goes on for quite a long time. Near the river path, two older children carry bundles of thin branches back toward the village, walking with the exaggerated importance of people doing real work, which they are. They have been sent by one of the adults to collect fallen wood from the forest edge, and they have done so. And now they walk back, talking over each other and laughing quietly at something known only to them, the very small children, 2 or 3 years old, stayed close to their mothers or grandmothers, playing in the dust nearby, with smooth river stones and scraps of clay and whatever else finds its way into their hands. One is attempting to fit a large, flat stone on top of a smaller, rounder stone, with great concentration and no success and no apparent frustration. Attempt after attempt, the stones fall. He tries again. To watch children in this village is to understand something essential about learning, and time everything a child here will need to know: how to plant, how to tend fire, how to read weather, how to weave, how to find the right stone in the riverbed. All of it is being absorbed right now, through play and watching and presence. Without effort and without urgency, the knowledge that holds this community together is not written anywhere. It lives in hands and eyes and days. Memory, passed like warmth from person to person across years and generations, and it is passing right now, invisibly, in the movements of children at play in the afternoon dust of a very old, very small, very ordinary village. And slowly, as time passes, the afternoon deepens toward evening, and the children are called in by voice and gesture, one by one, and the little village in the dirt is left unfinished for tomorrow. And the beetle has gone wherever beetles go, and the stones are left in a pile near the doorway of a hut where someone will collect them later or not. And the light begins to turn gold, asterisks at the boundary of the village, where the cleared land meets the beginning of the trees. There is a particular kind of quiet, not the quiet of the village, which is the quiet of people and animals and fire and the small sounds of daily life, all woven together into a familiar texture. This is the quiet of the forest itself, deeper, older, less comprehensible, full of sounds that are not quite identifiable if you're not from here. A creak of branch, a rustle of something hidden in undergrowth, a call from somewhere high. In the canopy, there could be any number of birds. The people of the village understand this boundary. They move through it every day, hunters going out at first light, gatherers walking the trails between the trees, looking for mushrooms and roots and berries, children sent to collect fallen wood, but they do not lose their awareness of it. They know which paths are well known and which lead into unfamiliar territory. They know which trees are landmarks, which clearings are safe, which hollows collect rainwater and are therefore visited by animals. This knowledge of the forest is part of the same body of knowledge as the knowledge of the fields and the river. And the village itself? It is all one world to these people, all one place to be read and understood and moved through with care and familiarity. In the late afternoon, a small group of gatherers returns along the forest path. They carry woven baskets on their backs and in their arms, filled with the season's particular offerings. Mushrooms, firm and earthy smelling, gathered from the shaded places beneath the oldest trees. Berries, dark and slightly tart, that have been pressed carefully into a separate container to keep them whole. A bundle of particular leaves used for flavoring food and for their medicinal qualities, recognized by smell and shape, gathered where they grow thickest. Beside a particular stream that runs through the forest, a long walk from here, one of the gatherers stops at the tree line before coming back into the village. She looks back at the forest for a moment, not with fear, just with a kind of acknowledgement, a quiet recognition that something has been given today, and something is owed in the continuing attention and care of people who take but do not take more than they need. This is not yet a formed philosophy. It is not written down or spoken aloud as a principle. It is simply the way things are understood here, in the practiced, embodied, unspoken way that most important things in a village this old are understood. She turns back to the village. The warmth of the central fire reaches her before she is fully there, and the smell of the evening meal being prepared, and the voices of people moving through the familiar rhythms of the day's end. And slowly, as time passes, the forest settles into the long dusk, and the sounds shift from daytime sounds to the first hesitant sounds of the coming night. And somewhere in the canopy, an owl begins its first slow call, and the village gathers itself inward toward the fire. Asterisk there is a particular quality to the light in the hour before dark. It comes in low and golden from the west, and it catches on everything at a different angle than the midday sun, finding the texture in the clay walls of the huts, the glint in the moving river in the distance, the tiny hairs on a forearm, the woven pattern of a blanket pulled over, someone's shoulders against the first hint of evening coolness. In this light, the village looks ancient and golden and perfect. The central fire has been built up for the evening, fed with larger pieces of wood that will burn long and steady, sending a column of smoke straight up into the still evening air. The smell of it is warm and deep, familiar as anything, the smell of coming home, the smell of safety, the smell of all the evenings this village has ever known layered on top of each other. The community gathers, not because anyone has announced it, but because this is what happens in the evenings, what has always happened. The day's separate threads, field, forest, river, hut, workshop, come together here around the fire, and the village becomes for a few hours fully itself. People sit on the flat stones and on the worn earth and on the logs that have been dragged close over the years for this purpose. Children settle near their parents, or near the older people whose company they particularly seek, leaning against warm sides, half drowsy already. A dog of some ancient, simple kind lies just within the circle of firelight, its muzzle resting on its paws, its eyes half closed. The evening meal is passed around in clay bowls, and there is bread again, and the broth that has been simmering since midday and has thickened and deepened in flavor, and pieces of the roasted fish wrapped in leaves, and the berries from the forest pressed into small cakes with dried grain. Eating happens slowly, with talk between bites, the day reviewed in pieces, observations offered what the weather looked like coming in from the west, whether the grain is nearly ready, whether the family in the hut at the far edge of the village is well, says the grandmother. There has been unwell. This is the village knowing itself. This daily gathering is how the people here understand what is happening in their small world, how they notice who needs help, how they make the small decisions that keep the community working without anyone having to call a meeting or declare authority. It happens in the gaps between sentences, in the noticing and the asking and the soft exchange of knowledge over a shared bowl of broth after eating. when the bowls are set aside and the fire settles into a quieter, deeper burn, someone sometimes tells a story. Not always. Not every night, but sometimes. And the story, when it comes, is slow and old, and shaped by many tellings. About ancestors who moved through this land before the village was here. About the river when it flooded long ago and what the water brought. About the first person who planted seeds here deliberately and waited and saw them grow. About the stars and what they mean. The story is not exciting. It is not meant to excite. It is meant to be a thread connecting these people to all the people who were here before them, and to all the people who will be hereafter. It is meant to be the sound of a community saying, "We know where we come from. We know who we are. We are here," and slowly, as time passes, the story ends or trails off, or another story is begun by a different voice, quieter, already half in sleep, ... and the fire breathes, and the stars begin to appear. One by one, in the darkening sky above, there are things the village does that are not practical. Not everything here is about food and shelter and warmth, though those things are important and most days are mostly about them. But there are things done here that have a different quality, a different texture, that seem to point outward towards something that cannot be seen or touched or measured. Certain mornings, before the day begins, one or two people go to a particular place. It is not far from the village, just beyond the field, where the land rises slightly into a low hill, and at the top of that hill there is a flat stone that was clearly placed there by human hands, though no one alive remembers when. Around it, smaller stones have been pressed into the earth in a simple curve, like a partial embrace. At this place, quiet things are left. A smooth river stone of an unusual color. A few seeds from this season's first harvest. Sometimes a small carved figure, like the one the old man has been working on. Tiny and smooth and slightly abstract. Its exact meaning known only to the person who placed it, and perhaps not fully known even to them. There are no words said here, at least none that you can hear, just presence. A person standing at the flat stone with their hands open at their sides, or pressed together, or holding whatever small thing they have brought. Standing for a while, breathing, looking out over the village and the fields, and the river from this small height, then walking back, quietly, to the ordinary work of the day. What are they expressing, these quiet, stone-leaving people? Gratitude, perhaps, or acknowledgement, or simply the reaching of a human mind towards something larger than itself, which seems to be one of the things human minds persistently do, in every age and every place they find themselves. In the evenings, sometimes, the rituals are more communal, a circle of people, seated, a rhythm made by hands on the earth or on a stretched hide, very soft, very steady, like a second heartbeat under the usual heartbeat of the fire. A low, humming sound from some of them, not quite melody and not quite words, just a sustained tone that the air vibrates with and that you feel, if you are close enough, as a warmth in the chest. These gatherings do not go long into the night. They are not ecstatic or urgent. They are more like a collective exhale, a community releasing the day together, acknowledging the turn of the season, welcoming the first rain, giving thanks for a harvest that has come in well, and then they stop. As quietly as they began, and people drift toward their huts, and the night settles. And the stars are there in the sky, doing whatever the stars have always done, which the people here study and remember and find meaningful in ways that are just, beginning to be formed, and slowly, as time passes, the hill with its flat stone is quiet and still, and the village is quiet and still, and the only sound is the fire at the center of things, crackling softly to itself in the dark. Asterisk, the village has no calendar, no written record of days or months or years, but the village knows time. It knows time in the way that the body knows it, in the way the land knows it, through the length of daylight, the temperature of the air, the behavior of animals, the appearance of certain plants, the quality of the sky at certain hours. There is a time, in the cold months, when the fields are empty and the forest is skeletal and the river runs low and slow beneath a sometimes icy edge, and the people of the village stay close to home and to fire and to each other. They work on the indoor things, weaving and carving and mending and making, and they tell stories more often than in other seasons, and they sleep more, and their days have a slower, more interior quality. There is a time when the cold breaks, when the mud is soft and dark and full of possibility, when the seed grain that has been stored through winter is brought out and divided carefully, some for eating through the lean weeks before the first harvest, some for planting, always, some for planting. This is a time of cautious hope and steady work, the fields prepared with simple tools, the seeds placed with care and covered with a firm, flat hand. There is the long warm middle of the year when the fields are growing and the river is full, and the forest is abundant, and there is more food to gather and more food to eat, and the evenings are long and golden, and the village seems to breathe more easily, more deeply. And then the harvest, not frantic, not anxious, but purposeful and thorough. Everything brought in and dried and stored with the kind of careful attention that knows winter is coming, and the stored grain and the stored roots and the dried herbs hanging from the rafters are what will carry everyone through. The village does not fear the winter. It prepares for it in this preparation across the generations. A deep knowledge has accumulated about how to live in this particular place, in its particular climate, through its particular rhythms. What to store, how to store it, how to keep. Enough warmth with small fires and close sleeping. How to know when the cold is ending and when the ground is ready again. This knowledge is not written anywhere. It cannot be looked up. It lives only in the memory and practice of these people, transferred every year to the younger ones who watch and learn and slowly take on more of the work as the older ones step back. It is how everything important in this village lives, in people, between people, through people, and the seasons turn and the village endures. And slowly, as time passes, across years and decades and beyond what any single person can remember, the village changes so gradually that no single change can be noticed, but accumulates into something that, from very far away, would look like growth, like learning, like the slow, quiet becoming of something more. Asterisk, the night comes gently here. It does not arrive suddenly, the way the dark inside a room arrives when a light is turned off. It approaches from the east, a deepening of the blue above the trees, a slow erasure of the last orange warmth in the western sky, a gradual revelation of stars, first one, alone and bright and startling, then two or three more, then more, until the sky is full of them, more stars than anything. An impossible quiet abundance overhead. The fire at the center of the village has been built up one last time for the night. It is large enough to last until deep into the small hours, not so large that it will need attending through the night. It sends warm light in a circle that encompasses the arrangement of huts, softening the edges of everything, making the clay walls glow a gentle orange, casting moving shadows that shift and breathe with each small shift of flame. The dog is still, there by the fire, fully asleep now, its ribcage rising and falling slowly. Most of the village has gone inside. From the huts, you can hear the small sounds of people settling, a murmur of voices, the shift of a sleeping mat, a child saying something that is answered in a low, soothing tone, then quiet. These sounds come one after another and then stop. One hut, then another, until there is nothing from the huts at all. Just the breathing of sleeping people in small, warm, clay-walled rooms. The fire burns on. You stay with it for a while, out in the open center of the village, with the night all around and the stars overhead, and the sound of the river just audible in the distance. A low, constant, immensely patient murmur that has been there every night of every person's life in this village. And that will be there long after this particular community is gone and is only a few smooth stones buried in the earth. The night air is cool now. Not cold yet, but carrying the memory of the forest's darkness and the river's cold and the deep chill that lives in the soil. After the sun leaves it, a moth passes through the circle of firelight, spiraling once around the flame and then continuing on its way. Somewhere in the trees at the far edge of the cleared land, the owl calls again. A long, low, hollow sound. Then silence. Then again. The fire settles, shifting slightly as a piece of wood gives way at its center, and a small shower of sparks rises and fades within seconds, each one tracing a brief, upward arc before winking out. You sit with this, in the quiet center of the sleeping village, and something in you that has been holding on to the day, to the thoughts, to the steady maintenance of wakefulness begins, very gently. To release, there is nothing to hold on to tonight. There is only this. The fire, the stars, the river's voice, the sleeping village, the dark forest, the night sky that holds all of it in its enormous, ancient, indifferent, beautiful, dark. Astris, you are very tired now. Not the tired that comes from having done too much, but the good tired, the honest tired, the tired that is the body's way of asking for what it needs. Lie back. If you haven't already, let the weight of you sink into the surface beneath you. Feel the support of it, the solid, steady, uncomplaining support of it. In the village, everyone is sleeping now. The children are curled close to their parents, warm and small and still, their faces relaxed into that absolute peace that only sleeping children have. Their hands loosely open, their breath slow and even. The old carver is sleeping with his hands resting on top of the sleeping mat, fingers slightly curved, remembering in the muscle of them the shape of the work they have done. He will carve again tomorrow, a little more, and the figure in the bone will take on a little more of its form, and someday it will be finished. And then it will be placed somewhere, given to someone, or left somewhere meaningful, and it will be found, perhaps, much, much later, by hands that will hold it and wonder about the hands that made it. The woman who woke first this morning is sleeping deeply. Finally, after the long day, she will wake before the others again tomorrow. She always does. It is something in her, something that opens her eyes in the grey before dawn without being asked. The fields are dark and still, the grain stalks barely visible under the stars. Holding their quiet, patient shapes in the dark. The river moves on. The owl has stopped calling. The fire has burned lower now. The orange glow softened to a deep and steady red at the core of the embers, putting out warmth without effort, without drama. Just the quiet persistence of something that knows what it is for. You can let go of the day now. You can let go of whatever you were thinking about before you started listening, before you started drifting into this long, slow, very old world. The things that wait for you will still be there tomorrow. They do not need your attention tonight. Tonight you are in the village, at the edge of the sleeping world, at the end of a very ordinary, very beautiful day in the life of a very small and very complete community of people who have figured out how to do the most important things, how to feed themselves, how to shelter themselves, how to keep each other warm, how to mark the passing of time with small and meaningful rituals, how to pass what they know to those who will come after them, how to rest at the end of the day beside the fire and let the night do what the night does. You are safe here. You are warm here. You are held in the long, slow, breathing dark of the oldest human thing. A place to come home to, a fire to sleep beside, people near enough to feel even when you cannot see them. The stars wheel overhead very slowly. The same stars that wheeled over this village every night of its long life. The same stars you will see if you go outside and look up. We have all always been under the same sky. We have all always needed the same things, and the village rests, and the fire rests, and the river goes on in the dark over the smooth stones, between the quiet banks, into the wide and patient world. And you, ... you can rest now, ... Good night.